right. So here we are again, folks, for another Monday. We are back at it again. If you are here for the first time, thank you for joining me. I'm Tig. This is the stream where I have been in the process over the last few months of writing the second book in a series of books that I've been writing. This is really a prequel to the first. So I've been writing this on stream since November. So we're pulling up really close to the conclusion of this one. It's a smaller book, so it's a novella, but I'm looking forward to having this finished up. If you're following me on Twitch, feel free to hop in chat, say hi, let me know you're here. If you were watching the video after the fact on YouTube, also thank you for joining me. I'm putting, if you're in my Twitch chat, the link to the site where the music you're hearing in the background can be found. I'll have that in the description for the YouTube video, so that'll be there as well. When we are finished with this book, the stream will not end. I'll continue streaming each week. You watched the writing process, so the next step will be the first round of the editing process, where I go back and clean up some spelling errors, grammatical errors, clean up some of the dialogue, or if there's scenes or things that I think should be fleshed out more, I get to do that, or some things that after looking through it maybe doesn't fit, I can trim out. So this is where I do my first round of editing. That's when that'll happen. A lot of it, we try to do as we go along, but really the when you first start writing, for me, the best thing to do is just get the words on the page. Once you have the words on the page, once you have a story finished, then you can go back and refine and clean things up, and you can start to work and mold the story. You mold as you're going, but you really initially you want to get the actual story written. You don't want to get locked into to a state of like paralysis where you have this idea, but you're so concerned about making sure every particular point is perfect as you're going along, and it's absolutely got to be absolutely perfect, and then you get locked up. You don't actually bother to put the words on the page. So we bypass that altogether. We just put the words on the page as a story comes into mind. We put it on the page. We get it done, get it out there. We try to be as concise and try to get things in orderly and keep things flowing nicely and taking care of the editing as we go, because anything we can take care of as we go means it's less for us to have to do after the fact. But at the same time, we try to make sure we get the words on the page. Once done, then you go back and you shore things up. You have more of the story. The actual meat of the story is there. Now I can go cleaning up the finer points or fleshing out some parts you think, hey, I could have gone a little more into that, or you know what, I could trim some of that out. That's when you go back to do that. And that's for my first round, going through and doing all that. Once I've gone through that round, the next part after that is sending off to a professional editor to go through and have them look through, and that's when you pay for that. You have them go through, take a look, and kind of see what's going on, and then they give their points, as an outside view. Say, hey, you could flesh this out more. Hey, this needs to be cleaned up. Here's some points you missed. The wording here was a little bit clunky, and they give you their points. You look through and you make your adjustments as you go, and that's my experience of an editing process. So it's a threefold process: the editing as you go, the first round editing after the fact that you do for yourself, and then the having someone else from the outside, actually officially go through and look at what you've done and then give you feedback. And so we're finishing up this week and possibly next week the actual getting the words on the page portion of this, and then the following subsequent weeks and months will be about really just going through and doing the self-editing process. So you get to watch me do that part of the process. And so hopefully anything that you've seen me do in the time that you've seen me on this channel, hopefully it encourages you to go forward with your own projects. Put your own story out there, to do your own thing. Hopefully you've been entertained, but if nothing else, I hope you've been inspired. I am by no means a well-known, famous author. I haven't published 1,000 books. I'm not the super professional. I'm one guy who's written one story, hasn't even got it published yet, and I'm finishing up a second story. This is just one guy giving you his opinion based on his experience so far. And there are people who are far better suited to teaching, but if you're nervous about starting, if you've never done this before, here's somebody who's doing it now and doing it in front of you. So if I can do this here, and maybe I don't have the next Lord of the Rings or the next Game of Thrones or the next Dune, but I did have a story to tell. I did have an idea. I did have a world. I did have characters, and I did have some themes, and I was able to put words on the page. And best story in the world or not, I completed the story. And if I did it, you can do it. So, having said that, welcome to the stream, and let's get some more words on the page. Oh, by the way, in case you hadn't noticed, yes, I'm using LibreOffice as my writer because I are cheap, and paying for Office 365 and for Microsoft Office is a viable thing. Definitely a good thing to do if you have, but this costs me nothing but the occasional donation every year, and that's if you have it to do. If you don't have it to do, you use it. It's open source. So I like to support the different software, the different sites, the different things that I use. But yeah, they're available for people who don't have much to start with, but they got to start somewhere. So. Already, I'm doing the wrong thing. I do want that. But I wanted to make sure I start there. Yeah, I think that's it. Less clunky. Yeah. Well, that takes care of that. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, that really is it. Wow. And actually, let me check something real quick. You need to be there. I think that's actually more fitting. There we go. Okay. Well, that's it, y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the conclusion of the second book, first prequel of the series. So, there are going to be, Lord willing, my intention is that there should be at least 2, possibly 3 more books in this series, and they're also prequels to the first book. So they deal with some events that are spoken about or alluded to about the history of the world, and they're mentioned in the first book. And so those are just gonna deal with some of those key events. We'll get to see how those stories fully unfolded. And at present, the current working title for the series as a whole, at least for me right now, is Tales of Sphira. So that is the current working title that I have for it in my head. That title may change, who knows, but that's what I have right now. So we have just finished the first prequel, second book in the series, The Tales of Sphira. This was the story of Mihal. I hope people have had the chance to enjoy where we've gone with this so far. I thank everyone who joined me. So this stream is apparently a pretty short stream tonight. We only had a little bit left to put in, but I didn't want to drag the story out too much longer just for the sake of dragging out, just for the sake of meeting a word count. The story is what the story is. If the story's done, the story's done. Cleaning up, smoothing things out, expanding on some things that were earlier in the story that maybe could be worded better, expanding on some things that could be explained a little more, or cutting away some things that ultimately don't really add to the story. That's part of my editing process, and we'll start going through that over the upcoming weeks. But the initial story, the base story, the story itself is done. So thank you. If you've been following me the entire time since November, then congratulations, you've just watched someone write a complete story. And I hope it encourages you, if you have a story to write, a story to tell, I hope it encourages you to put words on the page. Having said that, I'm going to end tonight the same way that I do in my customary manner. I'm going to remind everyone to be good to each other, be good to yourselves, stay good, and have a good night.